Kira had never been more excited in her life. After 3 years of studying at the most prestigious medical school in the galaxy, she was finally getting her chance to observe alien medicine. The Zephyrian Healing Academy had chosen her for this special assignment because of her perfect grades and her natural curiosity about other species. As her shuttle docked with the human research vessel Discovery, Kira checked her biosymbiotic implants one more time. These tiny organisms lived inside her body and could heal almost any injury in seconds. A broken bone, fixed in 30 seconds. A deep cut, sealed and healed in under a minute. Internal bleeding. The implants would stop it before she even felt pain. Her professor had told her that humans use something called primitive medicine that involved cutting people open with sharp tools and poisoning them with chemicals. Kira felt sorry for these poor creatures who hadn't discovered proper healing technology yet. The airlock opened with a soft hiss and Captain Junho greeted her with a warm smile. He was tall by human standards, with kind eyes and calloused hands that spoke of years working with machinery. "Welcome aboard, Kira. We're honored to have a Zephyrian medical student with us." "Thank you, Captain. I'm eager to learn about human medical practices," Kira replied, her translator device making her words sound perfectly natural in human language. "Well, you might get your chance sooner than expected," Junho said with a slight frown. "We've got an engineer who just had an accident in the lower decks. Nothing too serious, but maybe you'd like to observe how we handle injuries." Kira's excitement grew. Her first case study was happening right away. She followed the captain through narrow corridors lined with blinking lights and humming machinery. The ship felt alive around her, nothing like the sterile medical facilities back home. They found the injured human in the engineering section, sitting calmly on a metal crate while blood dripped from his left arm. Kira gasped when she saw the wound. It was deep, running from his elbow almost to his wrist, and she could see muscle tissue underneath the torn skin. "This is Tai, our chief engineer," Captain Junho said. "Tai, this is Kira, our Zephyrian observer." Tai looked up and smiled, even though his face was pale from blood loss. "Nice to meet you, Kira. Sorry about the mess. Just had a little disagreement with a plasma conduit." Kira couldn't understand why he was so calm. On her planet, an injury like this would send someone straight to emergency healing chambers. She quickly activated her portable medical scanner and stepped forward. "Don't worry, I can help," she said, pulling out a small silver device. "This is a bio-restoration pod. It will have you completely healed in less than 2 minutes." But Tai raised his good hand and shook his head. "Thanks, but no thanks. I'll handle this the old-fashioned way." Kira stared at him in confusion. "But you're bleeding badly. Without treatment, you could go into shock or develop an infection." "I appreciate the concern, really," Tai said, standing up and walking over to a wall-mounted cabinet. "But human bodies are tougher than they look. Besides, I've patched myself up plenty of times before." Kira watched in amazement as Tai opened the cabinet and pulled out what looked like a torture kit. There were bottles of clear liquid, white fabric strips, metal tools that looked like tiny spears, and thin strings that reminded her of fishing. "Line first." Tai poured water from a bottle over his wound, washing away the blood. Kira expected him to scream or at least wince, but he just watched the water run pink as it carried away the blood and dirt. "The trick is to clean it really well first," Tai explained, as if he was teaching her how to repair a machine instead of treating a serious injury. Infection is usually worse than the original wound. Next, he picked up one of the bottles of clear liquid. "This might sting a bit," he said to himself, then poured it directly into the open wound. This time he did react, sucking in air through his teeth and muttering something under his breath that Kira's translator decided not to repeat. But he didn't stop working. "What is that liquid?" Kira asked, her scientific curiosity overriding her shock. "Antiseptic," Tai replied, blinking away tears from the pain. "Kills bacteria and other nasty things that might want to set up house in here." He gestured to his wound like it was a neighborhood he was cleaning up. Then came the part that made Kira's stomach turn. Tai picked up one of the metal tools and began threading it with the thin string. His hands were remarkably steady for someone who had just lost a significant amount of blood. "You're going to sew your own skin back together," Kira whispered. "Yep. Learned this trick in the academy." Human bodies are pretty good at healing themselves if you just give them the right conditions and a little help. Tay positioned the needle at one edge of his wound. The key is to make small, even stitches and don't pull too tight. As Tay began stitching, he started talking about completely unrelated topics. He mentioned how the ship's artificial weather system had been acting up lately, creating random rainstorms in the garden section. He talked about his sister's new job on a mining station and how he was thinking about learning to play an instrument called a guitar. Kira realized that this casual conversation wasn't random at all. Tay was distracting himself from the pain and keeping his mind occupied while his hands performed delicate surgery on his own body. Each stitch was precise and confident. Tay's fingers moved like an artist's, bringing the edges of the wound together perfectly. Within 15 minutes, the gaping injury had become a neat line of small knots holding his skin in place. "There we go," Tay said, examining his work with satisfaction. "Should be good as new in a couple of weeks." Kira stood there speechless, her advanced healing device still clutched in her hand, completely useless and forgotten. By her second week aboard the Discovery, Kira thought she was starting to understand humans. Then she met Mina in the ship's gymnasium, and everything she believed about medicine got turned upside down again. The gymnasium was a large room filled with strange metal contraptions that looked more like medieval torture devices than medical equipment. Humans were using these machines to lift heavy objects repeatedly, and they seemed to be enjoying it. Kira's confusion deepened when she realized they were actually paying for the privilege of using this equipment. Mina was lying on a bench, pushing, a metal bar loaded with circular weights above her chest. Her face was red, sweat poured down her forehead, and her muscles trembled with effort. Every few seconds she would grunt with exertion. To Kira's medical scanner, it looked like Mina was in severe distress. "Excuse me," Kira said, approaching carefully. "Are you experiencing some kind of medical emergency? Your vital signs suggest you're under extreme physical stress." Mina set the weight bar back on its rack and sat up, breathing heavily but smiling. "Emergency? No way. I'm just getting my workout in, only 3 more sets of bench press, then I move on to deadlifts." Kira's translator struggled with some of these terms, but the meaning became clear as she watched. Mina was deliberately putting her body through intense physical stress, and she planned to do even more of it. "But my scanner shows that you're creating microscopic tears in your muscle tissue," Kira said, genuinely concerned. "On my planet, we would consider this a serious injury requiring immediate treatment." "That's exactly the point," Mina laughed, wiping sweat from her face with a towel. "When you stress your muscles like this, they adapt and grow back stronger. It's called progressive overload. You break them down a little bit, give them time to recover, and they rebuild themselves better than before." Kira watched in fascination as Mina explained how human muscles worked. Unlike Zephyrians, who maintained constant physical condition, through their bioimplants, humans had to actively challenge their bodies to improve them. They literally damaged themselves on purpose, trusting their biology to repair the damage and emerge stronger. "So you're essentially performing controlled injury therapy on yourself?" Kira asked. "I guess you could put it that way," Mina said, lying back down to continue her workout. "Tomorrow my muscles will be a little sore, but in a few days they'll be stronger than they were today. The human body is amazing at adaptation." Later that morning, Kira found herself in the ship's cafeteria, still puzzling over what she'd witnessed. She sat down next to Jin, a navigation officer who always seemed cheerful and energetic despite working long shifts. Jin was drinking from a steaming mug filled with dark brown liquid that made Kira's medical scanner beep with alarm. According to her instruments, the substance contained multiple compounds that would be considered toxic to most species. "Jin, I don't mean to alarm you, but I think someone has poisoned your drink," Kira said urgently. Jin nearly choked on his coffee, then burst out laughing. "Poisoned? This is just coffee. Want to try some?" He pushed the mug toward her, and Kira's scanner went crazy. Caffeine, various acids, and dozens of other chemical compounds that her medical training identified as potentially harmful substances. "Just voluntarily consuming liver toxins," Kira said in amazement. "Well, when you put it like that, it sounds bad," Jin admitted with a grin. "But coffee is one of humanity's greatest discoveries. It helps me stay alert during those long night shifts, and honestly, it just tastes good. Jin explained how humans had been consuming caffeine for thousands of years. Their livers had adapted to process it efficiently, and their brains had learned to use it as a tool for enhanced focus and energy. What Kira saw as poisoning, humans saw as a partnership between their biology and the natural world. The dose makes the poison, Jin said, quoting an old human saying. Our bodies can handle small amounts of lots of things that might be dangerous in larger quantities. It's all about balance and knowing your limits. But the most incredible case was yet to come. That afternoon, Kira had her first meeting with Dr. Hana, the ship's chief medical officer. Hana was a woman in her 50s with laugh lines around her eyes and hands that spoke of decades of medical practice. I've been looking forward to meeting you, Dr. Hana said warmly. It's not often we get to share medical knowledge with other species. As they toured the medical bay, Kira noticed something unusual about Dr. Hana's medical records displayed on her workstation. The file showed that she had been infected with 3 different viral diseases over the past 5 years, including one that was considered deadly to most species. Dr. Hana, I couldn't help but notice your medical history, Kira said carefully. How did you survive these infections without biosymbiotic treatment? Hana smiled and leaned against her desk. The old-fashioned way. Bed rest, plenty of fluids, and letting my immune system do its job. Kira was stunned. But these viruses have mortality rates above 50% for most species. How is that possible? The human immune system is pretty remarkable, Hana explained. Every time we encounter a new pathogen, our bodies don't just fight it off, they remember it. Our immune cells create a detailed memory of every virus, bacteria, and foreign substance we've ever encountered. She pulled up a holographic display showing the human immune response. When I was infected with the Rigel flu 5 years ago, my body learned everything about that virus. Now if I encounter it again, my immune system can destroy it before I even feel sick. So you're saying that getting sick actually makes you stronger? Kira asked. In a way, yes. Each infection is like a training exercise for our immune system. So obviously we don't want to get seriously ill, but exposure to mild pathogens actually strengthens our natural defenses. Dr. Hana showed Kira detailed scans of her own immune cells. Unlike the artificially enhanced immunity that Zephyrians maintained, through their implants, Hana's immune system was a living learning network that had been shaped by decades of real-world experience. We call it acquired immunity, Hana explained. Every human carries within them a biological library of every disease they've ever encountered. Our bodies are constantly updating this library, sharing information between different types of immune cells and preparing for future threats. Kira realized she was witnessing something unprecedented. These humans weren't just surviving disease and injury, they were using these challenges as opportunities to become stronger and more resilient. Their entire approach to medicine was based on partnership with their own biology, rather than replacement of it. So when you encounter a new pathogen, Kira said slowly, your body doesn't just try to eliminate it. It studies it, learns from it, and prepares for the next encounter. Exactly, Dr. Hana nodded. The human body isn't just a machine that breaks down and needs fixing. It's a learning organism that adapts and improves through experience. The emergency alarm echoed through the Discovery's corridors at 3 in the morning, pulling Kira from her sleep. Red lights flashed in her quarters as the ship's computer announced a medical emergency on Deck 7. She grabbed her emergency medical kit, loaded with the most advanced diagnostic equipment her species had ever created, and rushed toward the crisis. When she arrived at the alien crew quarters, the scene was chaos. 3 different species were showing symptoms of illness, but each looked completely different. The Altarian engineer was covered in purple spots and couldn't stop shivering. A vegan trader was experiencing severe nausea and had developed a strange rash across his tentacles. Most concerning of all, one of the Centauri diplomats was struggling to breathe, his normally blue skin turning an alarming shade of gray. Kira immediately activated her diagnostic nanobots, tiny machines that could analyze any known pathogen. In seconds, she expected quick answers and immediate treatment protocols. Instead, her advanced technology gave her something she'd never seen before: complete confusion. The nanobots couldn't identify what was making everyone sick. According to her equipment, each patient was suffering from a completely different illness, but that didn't make sense. If this was a contagious outbreak, there should be one pathogen affecting everyone. Dr. Hana arrived moments later, but instead, of rushing to use advanced medical equipment, she did something that baffled Kira completely. She sat down next to the Altarian engineer and started asking him questions. "When did you first start feeling unwell?" Dr. Hana asked gently. "About 6 hours ago," the engineer replied through chattering teeth. "Started with a headache, then. These spots appeared." Dr. Hana nodded and made notes on an actual piece of paper with an old-fashioned pen. She moved to the next patient and repeated the process, asking about symptoms, timing, and recent activities. "Dr. Hana," Kira interrupted, "I have advanced diagnostic equipment that can analyze their blood, tissue samples, and cellular structure in minutes. Shouldn't we use technology to identify the pathogen?" "Of course we'll run tests," Dr. Hana replied, "but first I want to understand what we're dealing with from the patients themselves." Kira watched in amazement as Dr. Hana spent the next 2 hours simply talking to each patient. She asked about their eating habits, where they'd been on the ship, who they'd interacted with, and how their symptoms had progressed. She wrote everything, down by hand, creating what looked like a primitive database of information. Meanwhile, Kira's nanobots continued to fail. Every test came back with conflicting results. The advanced medical scanners couldn't agree on what was causing the illness, and the automated treatment suggestions were completely useless. "This doesn't make sense," Kira muttered, staring at her equipment in frustration. "My technology should be able to identify any pathogen in the known galaxy." Dr. Hana looked up from her handwritten notes. "What if it's not a pathogen from the known galaxy?" That simple question changed everything. Kira realized she'd been assuming the illness was caused by something her equipment recognized. But what if they were dealing with something completely new? "You think this is an unknown organism?" Kira asked. "I think this is something that's adapting to each species differently," Dr. Hana replied, spreading her handwritten notes across a table. "Look at the pattern." She showed Kira her observations. Each species had become ill at roughly the same time, but the symptoms were completely different. The Altarian had skin reactions, the Vegan had digestive issues, and the Centauri had respiratory problems. "It's like the same infection is reading each species' biology and attacking their weakest points," Dr. Hana explained. This violated everything Kira knew about medicine. Diseases were supposed to be predictable. They had specific symptoms, followed known patterns, and responded to established treatments. But Dr. Hana was describing something that seemed almost intelligent. "How can you treat something when you don't even know what it is?" Kira asked. "We start with what we can observe," Dr. Hana said. "Instead of trying to identify the pathogen, we focus on helping each patient's body fight whatever is attacking it." Dr. Hana began developing treatments based on pure educated guessing. For the Altarian with skin reactions, she tried anti-inflammatory medications. For the Vegan with digestive problems, she focused on maintaining hydration and supporting gut health. For the Centauri with breathing difficulties, she provided respiratory support and oxygen therapy. "But this is completely unscientific," Kira protested. "You're just guessing at treatments without knowing the cause." "Sometimes the best medicine is educated guessing combined with careful observation," Dr. Hana replied calmly. "We treat the symptoms we can see while giving each patient's natural defenses the best chance to fight off whatever is attacking them." Over the next 12 hours, Kira watched something incredible happen. While her advanced technology continued to fail, Dr. Hana's primitive approach began working. The Altarian spots started fading. The Vegan stopped vomiting and began eating again. The Centauri's breathing improved dramatically. "How is this possible?" Kira asked as she watched Dr. Hana check on each patient. "Experience," Dr. Hana explained. "I've been practicing medicine for 30 years. I've learned to read symptoms, understand how different species respond to illness, and trust my instincts when technology fails." Dr. Hana showed Kira her handwritten charts tracking each patient's progress. She had documented every change in symptoms, every response to treatment, and every small improvement. Her paper records were more detailed and useful than any computer analysis. The key is flexibility, Dr. Hana continued. When we encounter something new, we can't rely on predetermined protocols. We have to adapt, experiment carefully, and learn as we go. By the end of the day, all 3 patients were recovering. Dr. Hana had successfully treated an unknown pathogen using nothing but observation, educated guessing, and careful monitoring. Her primitive methods had succeeded where the most advanced medical technology in the galaxy had failed. I still don't understand how you knew what treatments to try, Kira admitted. Dr. Hana smiled. That's the thing about human medicine. We don't always know exactly what we're doing, but we've learned to work with uncertainty. We make our best guess, watch carefully to see what happens, and adjust our approach based on what we observe. Kira realized she was witnessing a completely different philosophy of medicine. Where her people sought to eliminate uncertainty through advanced technology, humans had learned to embrace uncertainty and use it as a tool for discovery. So you're saying that not knowing exactly what you're dealing with can actually be an advantage, Kira asked. Sometimes, Dr. Hana nodded. When you don't have all the answers, you pay closer attention to the questions, and sometimes the questions teach you more than the answers ever could. 3 days after the first outbreak, the mysterious illness had spread to 2 more decks of the Discovery. Kira's advanced medical equipment still couldn't identify the pathogen, and her nanobots were completely useless against whatever was making the crew sick. She felt helpless watching patients suffer while her technology failed her. That morning, she found Dr. Hana and Dr. Wu in the medical lab, preparing what looked like a simple injection. Both doctors seemed calm, almost casual, as they discussed their plan. "Are you sure about this?" Dr. Wu asked, holding up a small vial containing a clear liquid. "As sure as we can be," Dr. Hana replied. "We've diluted it enough that our immune systems should be able to handle it, but we'll still get the full experience of how this thing operates." Kira watched in confusion until she realized what they were planning to do. The vial contained samples from the infected patients. The 2 human doctors were about to deliberately infect themselves with the mysterious disease. "Stop!" Kira shouted, rushing toward them. "What are you doing? That's completely insane." Dr. Hana looked up with a patient smile. "We're going to learn about this pathogen the only way we can, by experiencing it firsthand." "But you could die." Kira protested. "This disease has already made dozens of people seriously ill. You have no idea how it might affect humans." "That's exactly why we need to do this," Dr. Wu explained, rolling up his sleeve. "We've treated the symptoms in other species, but we don't understand how this organism actually works. The only way to really know is to let it interact with human biology and observe what happens." Kira couldn't believe what she was hearing. These doctors were planning to use their own bodies as experimental laboratories. On her planet, medical research was conducted using computer simulations and artificial tissue samples. The idea of deliberately infecting yourself was not just dangerous, it was considered barbaric. "There has to be another way," Kira pleaded. "Let me contact my home planet. We have virtual reality systems that can simulate any biological process." "Simulations are useful," Dr. Hana said, "but they can't account for variables we don't know exist. This pathogen is doing things we've never seen before. It's adapting to each species differently, almost like it's learning about its hosts, Doctor." Wu nodded in agreement. "The only way to understand something that learns is to let it teach us directly." Before Kira could protest further, both doctors injected themselves with the diluted pathogen. They immediately sat down at monitoring stations and began tracking their vital signs, taking notes, and recording every sensation they experienced. "How do you feel?" Dr. Hana asked Dr. Wu after about 10 minutes. "Normal so far," he replied, checking his temperature. "Maybe a slight headache starting, but that could be stress." They continued monitoring themselves hour by hour. Kira watched in fascination as they documented every tiny change in their condition. Unlike her patients from other species, these doctors could describe exactly what they were experiencing in precise medical terms. "Interesting," Dr. Hana said after 2 hours. "I'm feeling a tingling sensation in my fingertips, and my vision seems slightly more sensitive to bright lights." "Wu, are you experiencing anything similar?" "Yes, but also some muscle tension in my lower back," Dr. Wu replied. making notes. It's like the pathogen is testing different systems in our bodies, seeing what kind of reaction it can get. As the hours passed, both doctors developed mild symptoms, but nothing as severe as what other species had experienced. They seemed to be having an almost conversation with the disease, observing how it behaved, and responding with small adjustments to their treatment. "I think it's trying to affect our nervous systems," Dr. Hana said on the 4th hour. "The headache is getting stronger, but it's very specific. It feels like pressure right behind my eyes." "Same here," Dr. Wu agreed. "But watch this." He took a mild pain reliever, and within 30 minutes, the headache began to fade. It responds to basic anti-inflammatory treatment, which tells us something about how it operates. Kira realized she was witnessing something revolutionary. Instead of trying to analyze the disease from the outside, these humans were collaborating with it. They were letting the pathogen teach them about itself through direct biological interaction. "You're not just treating the disease," Kira said in amazement. "You're having a conversation with it." "Exactly," Dr. Hana smiled, despite her obvious discomfort. "Every symptom is information. Every response to treatment tells us something new about how this organism behaves." By the end of the first day, both doctors had mapped out a detailed progression of the disease in human biology. They discovered that the pathogen was indeed adaptive, but it had specific weaknesses that could be exploited with the right combination of treatments. "Look at this," Dr. Wu said, showing Kira his handwritten charts. "The organism tries to attack our immune system first, but when we support our natural defenses with basic nutrients and rest, it shifts to targeting our nervous system instead. And when we treat the neurological symptoms with mild anti-inflammatory drugs," Dr. Hana continued, "it retreats to our digestive system, where it's much weaker and easier to fight off." They had discovered something that no external analysis could have revealed. The pathogen wasn't just random in its attacks. It had a specific strategy that could be countered if you understood its pattern, so you figured out how to beat it. "By letting it attack you?" Kira asked. "We figured out how to work with our own biology to defeat it," Dr. Hana corrected. "Our immune systems learned about this pathogen in real time, and we supported that learning process with targeted treatments." Over the next 2 days, both doctors recovered completely. More importantly, they had developed a treatment protocol that worked for all species. By understanding how the pathogen behaved in human biology, they could predict and counter its strategies in other species as well. "This is incredible," Kira said, as she watched the last patients recover. "You solved a medical mystery by turning yourselves into living research laboratories." "It's not that unusual for human medicine," Dr. Wu explained. "Throughout our history, doctors have tested treatments on themselves first. We believe that if we're not willing to experience something ourselves, we shouldn't ask our patients to experience it either." Dr. Hana nodded. "Our bodies aren't just tools for healing others, they're instruments of discovery. When we experience disease and recovery firsthand, we gain insights that no amount of external observation can provide." Kira realized that human medicine wasn't primitive at all. It was incredibly sophisticated, but in a completely different way than her people's technology. Instead of trying to eliminate the human element from medicine, humans had made themselves the most important tool in their medical arsenal. "You don't just treat patients," she said slowly. "You become patients. You don't just study disease from the outside. You experience it from the inside. Every human doctor carries within them the memory of every illness they've encountered," Dr. Hana said. "Not just intellectually, but biologically. Our bodies remember what it feels like to fight off different diseases, and that memory helps us help others." On the 7th day of the outbreak, Kira woke up feeling strange. At first, she thought it was just exhaustion from working long hours in the medical bay. But as she sat up in her bed, a wave of dizziness hit her like a physical blow. Her vision blurred, and she felt a peculiar tingling sensation spreading through her limbs. She immediately activated her biosymbiotic implants, the tiny organisms that had protected her health for her entire life. These microscopic helpers should have identified any threat and begun healing her body within seconds. Instead, nothing happened. Her implants seemed completely unaware that anything was wrong. Panic began to set in as Kira realized what was happening. The mysterious pathogen had finally found her, and her most advanced medical technology was powerless against it. She tried to stand but stumbled, her legs feeling weak and unsteady. The room seemed to spin around her and she had to grab onto her desk to keep from falling. "Computer, medical emergency in quarters 7B, she managed to say, her voice sounding strange and distant to her own ears. Within minutes, Dr. Hana arrived with Dr. Wu. They took one look at Kira and immediately began their examination, but not in the way she expected. Instead of pulling out advanced medical scanners, Dr. Hana simply sat down beside her and began asking questions. "How are you feeling right now?" Dr. Hana asked gently. "Can you describe exactly what you're experiencing?" "Dizzy, weak, and there's this strange tingling," Kira replied, trying to focus through the fog in her mind. "My implants aren't responding. They should be healing me, but they're not even detecting that I'm sick." Dr. Hana nodded knowingly. "This pathogen seems to be invisible to advanced medical technology. We've seen this with every other species. The organism somehow masks itself from artificial detection systems. But that's impossible," Kira protested weakly. "My implants can identify any known pathogen in the galaxy." "This isn't a known pathogen," Dr. Wu explained, checking Kira's pulse with his fingers rather than using any electronic equipment. "It's something entirely new, and it seems specifically designed to evade technological detection." Over the next few hours, Kira's condition worsened. The tingling sensation spread throughout her body, and she began experiencing severe nausea. Her biosymbiotic implants remained completely inactive, as if the disease didn't exist at all. "I'm going to die, aren't I?" Kira asked Dr. Hana during one of her regular check-ins. "If my implants can't fight this, what hope do I have?" "More hope than you think," Dr. Hana replied confidently. "Your implants aren't the only medical system you have. You also have something much more powerful that's been with you since birth." "What do you mean?" Kira asked, confused. "Your own immune system," Dr. Hana explained. "It's been suppressed by your implants for so long that you've forgotten it exists. But it's still there. We just need to wake it up and give it a chance to fight." This concept was completely foreign to Kira. On her planet, natural immune systems were considered primitive and unreliable. Everyone received biosymbiotic implants at birth to replace their biological defenses with something more advanced and predictable. "But how do you wake up an immune system that's been inactive for decades?" Kira asked. "Very carefully," Dr. Hana said with a gentle smile. "We start by supporting your body's natural healing processes and see how it responds. Instead of using any advanced technology, Dr. Hana began treating Kira with methods that seemed almost primitive. She gave her simple nutrients to support cellular function, encouraged her to rest in specific positions to improve circulation, and monitored her symptoms using nothing but careful observation and basic medical instruments. "This is so different from what I'm used to," Kira said during her second day of treatment. "On my planet, we would have put me in a healing chamber and let the machines fix everything." "Machines are wonderful tools," Dr. Hana replied, "but they can't adapt to something they've never encountered before. Your body, on the other hand, has millions of years of evolutionary experience dealing with new threats." As the days passed, something remarkable began to happen. Kira could feel her body starting to fight back against the disease. It was a strange sensation, like waking up from a deep sleep. Her natural immune system, dormant for so long, was slowly coming back to life. "I can feel something changing," Kira told Dr. Hana on the fourth day. "It's like there's a battle happening inside me, but I'm starting to win." "That's exactly what's happening," Dr. Hana confirmed. "Your immune system is learning about this pathogen and developing specific defenses against it. It's doing what your implants couldn't do, adapting to something completely new." Dr. Hana showed Kira how to monitor her own recovery by paying attention to her body's signals. She taught her to recognize the difference between symptoms that meant the disease was winning and symptoms that meant her immune system was fighting back. "Pain isn't always bad," Dr. Hana explained. "Sometimes it's a sign that your body is working to heal itself. The key is learning to read what your body is telling you." By the end of the week, Kira was completely recovered. More importantly, she felt different than she had ever felt before. Her natural immune system was now active and alert, ready to defend her against future threats. I understand now, Kira said to Dr. Hana as she prepared to return to her duties. Human medicine isn't about replacing biology with technology. It's about working with biology to make it stronger. Exactly, Dr. Hana nodded. We've learned that the most advanced medical technology in the universe isn't something you can build in a laboratory. It's the incredible healing capacity that every living being already carries within them. Kira realized that her entire understanding of medicine had been wrong. Her people had spent centuries trying to improve on biology when they should have been learning from it. Humans had discovered something profound, that the key to advanced medicine wasn't better technology, but better understanding of how life itself worked. You don't just treat diseases, Kira said in wonder. You partner with the body's own healing wisdom. Every human doctor learns this lesson eventually, Dr. Hana replied. We can use all the technology we want, but at the end of the day, healing happens from the inside out. Our job isn't to replace the body's natural processes, but to support them and learn from them. As Kira prepared to return to her home planet, she knew she would never practice medicine the same way again. She had learned that true medical advancement wasn't about building better machines, but about understanding the incredible complexity and wisdom of biological systems. The humans had taught her that the most sophisticated medical technology in the galaxy wasn't artificial at all. It was the remarkable capacity for healing, adaptation, and learning that existed within every living being. They had made themselves into living laboratories, not because they lacked advanced technology, but because they understood that no technology could match the incredible capabilities of life itself. Thank you, Kira said to Dr. Hana before leaving. You've shown me that the most advanced medicine isn't about controlling biology, but about trusting it.